What is good, 7th graders? We are now working on EE3, where we're going to take what we've learned about expressions and solving equations and put that into some story problems. On this link, we're actually going to do some estimating. It says each correct answer on a game show is worth 79 points. Last night, a contestant answered 532 questions correctly. About how many points did the contestant earn? Choose the better estimate. So we're going to round each of these numbers to easy numbers to multiply, and then we'll get a good estimate. So we're 79 points, let's make it 80 points. 532 questions, let's round that to 500. Okay, so if we have 580, we need to multiply those to figure out how many points total, because it's 79 points or 80 points per question. So 8 times 5 is 40, and then we can just add those 3 zeros on. It's a nice thing about multiplying when you have zeros, you can just add them on the end. It's a little trick, a little shortcut. So we get 40,000, so our best estimate would be 40,000. Good. In a recent election, 69,209 voters in Lincoln County voted. About, however, 54,937 voters did not vote. In all, about how many voters are there in Lincoln County? Choose the better estimate. Okay? So 69,000 voted, 55,000 did not vote. So we're going to add these two together to get the total. So let's round 69,000 to 70,000, and let's round 54,000 to 55,000. Add those together. 70 plus 50 is 120, plus, or is 12 plus the 5 is going to give us 125,000. So that would be closest to 120,000 right there. That would be our best estimate. Sweetie Pie Baking Company had 6,189 eggs. Then employees used 1,208 eggs to make pumpkin pie. About how many eggs are left? Choose the better estimate. Well, let's round this number down to 6,000. Let's round this number down to 1,000. And they used 1,000 out of a total of 6,000, so that means we need to subtract to figure out how many are left. How many are left over? So that would give us 5,000. Okay, so it says for breakfast, Lacey bought a bagel for $1 and a glass of juice for $1.60. At lunch, Lacey spent $2.80 on a sandwich and 75 cents on a carton of milk. How much more money did Lacey spend on lunch than on breakfast? Okay, so first let's figure out how much she spent on breakfast. We have $1 and $1.60. We add those together. That's what she spent on breakfast. Then we want to know how much she spent on lunch. We have $2.80 and 75 cents. Remember, when you're adding and subtracting, you have to line up your decimals. So 280 plus 75 is going to give us 355. All right, now how much more did she spend on lunch than on breakfast? To figure that out, what we need to do is subtract. So we're going to take the bigger number minus the smaller number, subtract those. If you're writing it out, you're going to have to borrow. You can't do 5 minus 6, so you have to borrow from the 3. We can do 15 minus 6, which is 9. 2 minus 2 is 0. So she spent 95 cents more on lunch than on breakfast. Okay, so let's plug that in. Good. All right, let's try another one. Owen was collecting coins. He got 20 coins from his piggy bank and 4 coins from his brother. His father gave Owen 2 coins. Owen gave 11 of the coins to his friend Dwayne. How many coins did he have left? All right, so let's start with, he had 20 coins from his piggy bank and 4 from his brother. So add those together, he has 24. His father gave him 2, so add 2 more, he's at 26. He gave 11 to his friend. Now if he's giving coins away, that would be subtracting. 26 minus 11 means he had 15 left. Alright, so we're picking out words that are telling us if we're adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing. And when you give something away, you're subtracting. All right, so he has 15 left. Good. All right, Ron bought a sandwich for $5.25, a bag of chips for $1.95, and a drink for $1.65. The tax was 70 cents. He gave the cashier $10. How much change should he get back? Okay, so first we have to add together all of his costs, which is the cost of the food and the tax. We have to add all of those together. So $5.25, $1.95, well, we'll keep adding. $1.65 and 70 cents. Okay, we can add all four of those together. So we get 5, 10, 15, carry the 1, 9 and 1 makes 10, 2 and 6 makes 18, plus another 7 gives us 25. So put the 5 down there, carry the 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's going to be $9.55. So if he gave him $10, so $10 is more than $9.55, which is good, or he wouldn't have had enough money. To figure out how much change he got, we would subtract $9.55. Okay, now maybe you can do that in your head and get 45 cents. If not, you can do the long division. Make sure you carry. You're gonna have to borrow. When you do that, so you have to borrow all the way over here. That becomes a 10. Borrow turns into a 9. 10 turns into a 9. 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 5 is 4. 9 minus 9 is 0. Turns out to be 45 cents. Okay. Good. So the trick to this link is reading carefully what the problem is telling you to do. Do you need to add? What do you need to add? What do you need to subtract? Do you need to multiply anything? This is mainly just adding and subtracting. So from the context, we should be able to tell what we need to do. This is a guess and check link. So we're going to do some estimating as well. Janelle has 5 vases of flowers. Some vases contain 4 orchids. The other vases contain 6 violets. There are 26 flowers in the vases in total. How many vases of each type of flower does Janelle have? Okay, so there's 5 vases. Some have 4 orchids, some have 6 violets. 26 flowers total. So we have to find a combination of 6, 4, and 6 that's going to give us 26 flowers. It has to be 5 vases. Okay, so let's say 4 vases have orchids. If 4 vases have orchids, that would be 4 times 4. 4 vases, 4 orchids, that's 16 flowers. Then that leaves 1 vase left for violets, and that would be 6 flowers. So 16 plus 6, add those together, that's just 22. But we need 26 flowers, okay? So that's not right, we need to try again. Let's do 3 vases with orchids. So that would be 3 times 4, which is 12. That would leave us with 2 vases for violets, which would be 6 times 2, which is 12. So together that's 24. Okay, still not right. So let's try again. Let's do 2 vases with orchids. That'd be 4 times 2, which is 8. So that'd be 8 flowers. That would leave us with 3 vases for violets. So that'd be 18. 18 and 8 is 26. So then that would be the correct number of flowers, 26. Okay, so how many vases of orchids? We had 2. And how many vases of violets? We had 3. Adds up to 26. Okay. My little brother spent $26 on comic books and magazines. He bought 8 items total. Okay, so we have a total of 8 magazines. Comic books cost $2 and a magazine costs $4. How many of each item did he buy? So 8 items has to equal $26. So let's start guessing and checking. Let's do 4 of each. So we'll do comic books and we'll do magazines. Let's say he got 4 comic books, so they cost $2. So 4 times 2 is 8, that'd be $8. And that means he got 4 magazines at $4, which is 16. 16 plus 8 is 24, okay? Not quite right, because he spent $26. So let's try again. I'm thinking he probably bought more magazines than comic books, because those are a little bit more expensive and we are $2 short, so we need to buy one more of the more expensive item, the magazine. So let's do 3 comic books. So 3 times 2 is 6, that's going to be 6. And let's do 5 magazines. 5 magazines, that'd be 5 times 4, which is 20. 20 plus 6 is 26. That gives us our dollar amount. It's a total of 8 items, so we know we're correct. It'd be 3 comic books and 5 magazines. Okay, so there's no set method on how to get the correct answer the first time. You just have to try something, see how close you are, and then try something else that maybe makes more sense. Okay? My mom's friend bought cookbooks and travel books at a book sale. She spent $55 and bought 10 books. Okay, $55 total, 10 books total. The cookbooks cost $2 a piece and the travel books cost $9 a piece. How many of each type of book did the friend buy? Alright, so we have cookbooks and we have travel books. Okay, cookbooks are 2, travel books are 9. Spent $55. Let's try 6 cookbooks at $2 a piece would be $12. That would leave 4 items left to be travel books times 9, which is 36. 36 plus 12 is 48. So not quite. Let's try, maybe it's 5 and 5. So if we got 5 cookbooks times 2, that's $10. That would be 5 travel books times 9, it's 45. 45 and 10 makes 55. So that's right, we had 5 of each. So we had 5 of each, 5 cookbooks and 5 travel books. All right, elapsed time. We're trying to figure out what time it is when this activity happened. So we're either adding time or we're subtracting time. Okay, so you can kind of think of a clock and rewind it or fast forward it to figure out where we need to be. Okay, Austin and his sister watched a cartoon movie that was 2 hours long. After the movie, they played a card game for 1 hour and 15 minutes and then played soccer for 1 hour and 30 minutes. When they came in from playing soccer, it was 4:45. What time did Austin and his sister start watching the movie? Okay, so 4:45 is the end time, okay? Biggest thing to remember here is that there's 60 minutes in an hour. We're so used to working with decimals and money that often we try and add minutes up to 100. But it doesn't work that way with minutes. There's only 60 minutes in an hour, so we can't say 100 minutes makes 1 hour, because then we'll get the wrong answer, okay? So it was 4:45 when they quit. What time did they start? So we have to work backwards. So we're subtracting time. Okay, so let's first subtract 1 hour and 30 minutes. So 4 minus 1 is 3. 45 minus 30 is 15. So it was 3:15 when they played soccer. Move back 1 hour and 15 minutes for the card game. So 3 minus 1 is 2. 15 minus 15 is 0. It's 2 o'clock when they played the card game. And then go 2 hours back again. So 2 hours back will bring us to 1, and then not to 0. What's an hour before 1 o'clock? Would be noon, 12 o'clock. So our answer then would be noon. So we put in 12 o'clock. Now a lot of kids have trouble with this. You have to put in the letters and the dots. So A dot M dot or P dot M dot. So 12 noon is actually 12 p.m. not a.m. P dot M dot. All right, Ryan and his family went on a backpacking trip. They started hiking at 4:30 p.m. It took 2 hours to reach their campsite. After they arrived, it took an hour to set up the campsite. What time was it when Ryan and his family finished setting up their camp? All right, so they started hiking at 4:30, and it took them 2 hours. So we add 2 hours to that, be 5:30, 6:30. And then it took an hour to set up the campsite, so add another hour, makes it 7:30. Don't forget the PM when you enter that in. Neela got home from school at 1:30 p.m. and played video games for 30 minutes. Then she helped clean the kitchen for 30 minutes and spent an hour and 45 minutes finishing her homework. What time was it when Neela finished her homework? Okay, so we're starting at 1:30. She played video games for 30 minutes, so add 30 minutes. It's going to bring us to 2 o'clock. Okay, and then another 30 minutes to clean the kitchen brings us to 2:30. And then an hour and 45 minutes finishing her homework, so add an hour. That brings us to 3:30. Add 45 minutes. Well, another 30 minutes would be 4 o'clock. And I would still need 15 minutes more to make it 45, which makes it 4:15. So she would be finished at 4:15. Okay, last link here for EE3. Jack's mother gave him 50 chocolates to give to his friends at his birthday party. He gave 3 chocolates to each of his friends and still had 2 chocolates left. Write an equation to determine the number of friends, X, at Jack's party. Okay, so we have to write an equation here and then solve it. So 50 is the total, so it's going to equal 50, the total amount of chocolates. Okay? He gave 3 chocolates to each of his friends and still had 2 left. So 3 to each of his friends, and his friends are X. So we need to do 3X. 3 chocolates for each of his friends. Okay? And then he still had 2 left to make up a total of 50. So if you take all of the chocolates he gave to his friends and add 2 more to it, it's going to equal 50 chocolates. So this would be the equation to give us the number of friends that Jack has if we would solve for X. Okay? Now that we have the equation, we need to solve it like we've done before. So we have to get rid of this 2 by doing the opposite of what we see. So we're going to subtract 2. That equals 0. And then we just have 3x on the left. Subtract 2 on the other side. 50 minus 2 is 48. And then lastly, we need to get rid of that 3. Remember, this is multiplication. It's 3 times x. So to undo that multiplication, we need to divide. Divide by 3. That equals 3 over 3 is 1, so we're left with just x. Divide by 3 on the other side as well, which gives us 16. So he had 16 friends. Okay, Roger gets $40 per day as wages and $4.50 as a commission for every pair of shoes he sells. His daily earnings goal is $112. So again, we want to look for our total. Our total is $112. That's going to go on the right. That's what it's equal to. What makes up that $112 is his $40 per day. No matter what, he gets that, even if he doesn't sell anything. And then $4.50 for every pair of shoes that he sells. So the number of shoes he sells can vary. It can change. So the variable has to go with the 450. So in addition to the 40, he gets 450 for every pair of shoes, P, that he sells. So shoes times 450 plus 40 is going to give us the total of 112. Okay, now we need to solve for P to figure out how many pairs of shoes he must sell to at least meet his goal. Okay, so we need to get rid of that 40, which is positive. So we will subtract it, because that will give us 0, leaving us with 450p on the left. What we do to one side, we do to the other. So we have to subtract 40 on the right, which leaves us with 72. And then we'll divide by 450. 450 divided by 450 is 1, so it leaves us with just p. And then we will divide by 450 here, 16, I believe. Tim answered all the questions on his math test, but got 10 answers wrong. He received 4 points for every correct answer, and there was no penalty for wrong answers. His score was 76. All right, write an equation and then solve it. Okay, so again, his total is 76. So we're going to set it equal to 76 on the right. Now what makes up that total was the questions he got correct. So he received 4 points for every correct answer, and there was no penalty for wrong answers. So we don't know the total number of questions, but we do know that he got 10 questions wrong. So however many questions there are Q minus 10 is the number of questions that he got right. So if there's 50, he got 10 wrong. 50 minus 10 would be 40. There'd be 40 questions that he got right. So the total minus 10 is the questions he got right. So the questions he got right, they're worth 4 points. So we would take the number of questions he got right times 4. That's going to equal our 76 points. Now that we have the equation, we can distribute and solve for Q. Or we could divide by 4. 2 ways you can do it. I think we'll distribute. 4 times Q is 4Q. 4 times negative 10 is negative 40 equals 76. I want to get rid of that 40, doing the opposite of what we see. So we'll add. That equals 0, leaving us with 4Q. What we do to one side, we have to do to the other side. So 76 plus 40 is going to give us 116. We'll divide by 4, divide by 4. Q equals 29. That's it. Enjoy your practice.